Hi players, bonjour from Geneva, my name is Asaf and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today I'm going to have for you an overview preview of a new Kickstarter that is going to launch pretty soon that is called Fate of Venterra. A link will be added down below. Before we're getting into the preview, let's have an overview of the game and see what Fate of Venterra is all about. Fate of Venterra is a fantasy 2 to 5 player game where we're going to have a little bit of everything. We are going to have here some dudes on the map, we are going to have here some combat, economical aspect, empire building, civ upgrades, and a little bit more things that we're going to see soon enough. Each game is going to consist 6 rounds and each round has a few steps. The first thing that we're going to have is the income phase. That is where all the players are going to take income according to what they have right now on their board and also if they're controlling specific areas. Then we're going to have 3 phases that those are the meat and bones of this game. The second phase is the declare phase where all the players are going to choose and reveal 2 command cards that they have and they're going to do it simultaneously. We're going to have 4 types of command cards, and this is something that is mutual to all the players. So this is of course not a how to play, but in general with these cards we'll be able to move units across the map, we'll be able to gain some leader cards. Those are the cards that we still have in our supply and still didn't acquire it into our hand. Also, we'll be able to gain some quests. That is another element that we have over here on the mastery board. We'll be able to build new buildings in territories that we already control, and also we'll be able to upgrade those buildings. The next phase that we have is the first command phase. That is where the first player, that means the player that is on number 1 in the initiative track, is going to perform their first card, and we're going to continue like that according to the initiative order. And after we finish that, we're going to go to the second command, and again the first player is going to start resolving their second card. After that, we're going to go to the 5th phase, and that is the quest phase, where all the players will be able to complete 1 reserved quest card. That means a quest card that they have previously taken from here and placed them next to their board. The final almost phase is the upkeep that we have, and that means that if we have a large enough army in a specific location in a hexagon, we'll need to pay some upkeep for it. Now, different units are going to have different values, and that is something that we can see on the card that is situated right over here on each player board. After that, but only in rounds 2, 4, and 5, we're going to have a bidding phase. So there's nothing too much over here. Players are just going to take from their riches and they're going to blindly bid, of course, on who is going to be the first player in the next round. With that, of course, the highest bidder will be able to choose first which one of the rewards over here, and of course the second player and the third player, and so on. After the 6th round has finished, we're going to tally up all the victory points that we have over here, and the player with the highest amount is going to be, of course, declared as the winner. And we have different ways to score actually victory points over here. Sometimes it's going to be maybe a specific power that one of the factions have. Sometimes it's going to be some upgrades that we have performed, buildings and upgrades that we have built into the board, and also quests, of course, that we have finished. And don't forget one of the most important elements that we have over here, that is these 2 tracks. One of them is called the battle track and the other one is called the development track. Of course, when we're going to advance on each track, sometimes it's going to be because we've won a combat, sometimes it's going to be because we have unlocked a specific building that is going to let us advance on the track every income phase. And we have, again, different ways to advance on these tracks. And not only they're going to give us a one-time bonus every time we are reaching a certain threshold, also the more advanced we are, the more victory points we're going to have here at the end of the game. So that was a very general overview of this game. Again, this is not a how to play, so I didn't want to go too much into details over here, but we are going to go over a few elements that we have to understand if this is something that might hold a certain potential, or also for the things that maybe are a little bit less good or I would like to see more of before I'm deciding if I would like to back this game or not. So if we're already talking about this, let me tell you that in general, guys, these overview preview videos, not only that they're a little bit new to me, also there is a certain difficulty over here. As you've noticed, and of course, maybe this is something that I should have said before, but this is a prototype of the game, and probably the components or some of the art or stuff like that are going to be different in the actual version that you might get to your home if you're going to pledge for this game. So one of the things that I usually talk about in my reviews, and just to make sure that we're on the same page, this is not a review, so I will not be able to talk about things like the value of the game or the production, if I think that this game is worth its cost or not. So after this extensive prologue, let's dive in and see what we can get a little bit from what we have over here on the table. Let's start with the things that I actually like over here, or that at least I see here a certain amount of potential. And the first thing that I would like to talk about is actually the upkeep that we are going to have if we're having a large enough army in a certain area. So in general, each unit is going to have a certain amount of, let's call it a certain level. Maybe a horse is going to be worth 2 and an infantry is going to worth 1. They are actually the right amount on the cards. I just don't want to waste too much time on it. But if you have more than the value of 3 in a specific hexagon, that means that you will need to pay a certain amount of upkeep. I don't like games that actually are going to limit me as a player in how many units I can have in a specific hexagon, which this game doesn't do. I'm just sharing with you in general. Because while I do understand that certain games don't want to create this huge armada that just goes from one hexagon to another, I think that there are better balancing mechanisms, just like we have over here in Fate of Venterra. So I like that they don't limit me over here, but on the other side, they are telling me, hey, if you are going to have this huge army over here, you are going to be punished by paying a certain cost. Now, do I think that the price is actually punishing enough, or it's really balanced? I have no idea. I would really need to play this game more to understand if this is a good balancing mechanism. But I do like that they're not restricting me, but at the same time, they're telling me, hey, you can't rush a huge army and just go and conquer hexagon after hexagon. So this is a positive thing that I like seeing in this game. The second thing that I like seeing in this game is the level of asymmetrical factions that we have over here. Each faction does have a specific power and also different faction cards that they will be able to upgrade and have a little bit of a difference from the other factions. But it's not like the factions are going to completely and totally played differently from each other. So it is cool because I think that it's going to contribute, of course, to the replayability. I think that it's cool because it is going to help you if you're going to play towards or for in the direction of the power of that specific faction, but you do still have a chance if you're not going to do it. So this is, again, they're giving us a direction, but they're not forcing us to do it. I think that some games sometimes do it a little bit too much, and like, hey, if you're not going to play towards the specific power of your faction, most likely you're going to lose. So again, there is a direction, but they're not restricting. So a second positive thing that I can see over here in this game. A third positive thing is that terrain actually on the board matters. So let me take you again back to the table and show you, for example, over here on the mace tree board, we have here the different things that that different terrains are going to give to us. So for example, an army that defends over here in the mountain area is going to have a +1 when they're going to defend. So it actually makes sense, right? Because always attacking uphill is more difficult than defending downhill. I hope that makes sense for you guys. But also if the desert, for example, which is a place that we cannot build buildings over there, so you might ask yourself, hold on, why should I even bother to go over there? And that is because later at the end of the game, you are going to receive victory points for controlling this area. So again, this balancing thing, and also each territory matters in a specific way. So that is another point that I appreciate over here in this game. The next cool point that I would like to talk about is actually the building upgrades. So I remember at the initial setup that I did over here with the board and the player boards and everything, I told myself, Oh, so there are basically only two types of buildings, and that is that one of them is an outpost and the other one is a shrine. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of used to games when you have maybe more options, more things that you'll be able to do. But the thing is that I learned with playing that actually the magic over here is not with the basic buildings, it's actually with the upgrades. So as you can see right over here, we have different upgrades that we can place on top of buildings. So if, for example, I'm going to build this upgrade that just from looking at it at first, I thought like, oh, this is a gesture for Texas or something like that, right? But not at all. It was just a stupid thought. In any case, when you're doing this upgrade, you're simply sliding this upgrade right over here on top of the building. I know that this one is specifically for an outpost, but not for a shrine. But in any case, you're just going to place it over here, and then you're having not only the basic building, but actually an upgrade. Now, again, you guys, this is a prototype, so I'm pretty sure that these are not going to be the modules in the actual game, but it is going to be cool to see how they are going to implement it in the actual game. I kind of like seeing buildings that already exist and then they're being upgraded like on top of the board, like in front of you. This is a very cool element and something that is going to make actually each outpost, even if at its base they are the same, with the upgrades they are going to get their own personality, okay, their own direction. So that's another positive point that I have over here. Let's talk about combat, okay? Because usually in games like this, combat is one of the most important aspects that I have in the game that is sometimes going to make or break the game to me, okay? Not sure if it's for you, but it is like this for me. They are saying in their Kickstarter page that this is like a zero modifiers combat or like combat without luck or something like that. First of all, I don't know who it serves if you have combat without any element of luck or zero modifiers or stuff like that. I mean, from Voidfall, for example, which is a game that I absolutely love, to tell you that the deterministic combat over there that you can actually know who is going to win before you're entering combat is the most fun aspect of that game. Probably not. Probably I would prefer something like Fractal that have combat cards and technology and stuff like that, because it's just more fun like that, okay? That is the fun part of combat. I'm happy to tell you guys that in this case, it's not going to be a deterministic, a kind of combat, because we are going to have here different things. First of all, as I said, maybe it's just for the mountains, but you are going to have some effect with the modifiers over there. And also because we are going to play, they don't want to call it a combat card, that's fine with me, call it a leader card, which is another thing that we have over here. Leader cards are cards that you will be able to acquire during your turn with one of your action cards and add it to your hand. So at the beginning, when you're acquiring a card, you have to show it to everyone, but then when it goes to your hand, nobody can ask you like, remind me which cards do you have or what did you play or something like that. That is like your secret from now on. So when you're playing this card, you are going to have some modifiers over here that are going to contribute either to the attack or to the defense, because of course you can be on either one of the sides. And that is something that also has a certain amount of bluffing over here, because you will be able to play also an action card that actually has the value of 0, but you are bluffing and trying to take one of these leader cards, one of these combat cards from your enemy's hands. And the reason is that because when a faction is playing one of these combat cards, later this is going to go back to the supply, and then if you would like to have it again, you have to buy it again. So this is another element that I really appreciate over here, and combat does seem to be quick enough in terms of calculation, because you just need to see like the attack value versus the defense value. But also you have here a little bit the element of surprise, because you don't know what your opponent is going to do. So far I'm seeing quite a lot of potential over here with this game. With that, of course, unfortunately, there are some for now misses for me, like something that I would like to see how they're going to address it maybe later on, or if they are going to address it at all. I'm guessing that, again, it's a little bit not fair, but I mean, I gotta say it. I would like to see more of the project, like when it's actually going to launch on Kickstarter, because I would like to see how the art is going to change and how the components are going to be. Now, I'm not saying that every miniature has to be, I don't know, an Awakened Realms miniature, Cthulhu Wars, something like Monster. I don't need it here. I think that miniatures can be also style of Dark Ages or even a Divide the Impera, just something nice to the eye that is going to be cool to walk around the board. Okay, now I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be, at least if they are going to offer a deluxe edition, I'm pretty sure that there's not going to be like with these meeples, even though silk screen meeples, can be cool over here, maybe for like a basic pledge, but still the art, the cards, the boards is something that I would like to see, because the art right now, while it's cool in its abstract kind of way, is something that I'm pretty sure that we can see better of it, if you may. Now, I'm guessing they're not going to offer two different kind of arts to different pledges, but again, this is something that is worth paying attention to. Another thing that I a little bit don't understand over here is the fact that all the water hexagons are considered to be adjacent. That means that if I have a boat over here and I'm playing a card that allows me to move a supporting unit, and a boat is a supporting unit, basically a legal move will be to move it from this hexagon to this one, which is something that I a little bit don't understand. I don't see here really the theme behind it, like why would it be like this? I'm getting it like mechanically, okay? Of course, it makes sense. You want to have boats over here. There are not enough of water tiles, and obviously infantry or land units are going to move more than ships. So let's say that everything is open, but I don't know, adding some canals in the art or something to connect it, or actually have it like, okay, let me explain to you a little bit backwards. What you see right now, the setup for a 3-player game is the setup that they're recommending in the current version of the rulebook. Later, you will be able to actually build the map. One of these games, it's like, okay, the first one is placing a tile, then the next player is placing a tile, and so on. So I'm thinking maybe to do some canals or rivers like with the art, and that is going to add another layer of strategy over here. So I don't really feel the theme when ships can just jump across the board just because water tiles are considered to be adjacent. A little bit weird, but we're going to see how it's going to be later on. Another thing that is a little bit missed to me, again, because I don't feel the theme over here, is the bidding mechanism. Now, in general, you guys, I'm not a fan of bidding mechanisms. It most of the time feels out of the blue. In some games, it can work in a cool way, okay? Like Cyclades or Cyclades. I never know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to go with the Cyclades, okay? Just in case. So in that case, it does work. Like even thematically, it kind of makes sense to me, because you're going to sort of pray to a god or asking its favor or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I get that. But over here in this game, just to have a bidding to see who is going to be the first player in the next turn, or who is going to choose the first bidding reward that we have over here, feels, again, a little bit out of the blue. Not so sure why it's there. And also only for the second, fourth, and fifth round. I'm guessing there is a designer decision behind it. I just don't see it, and it feels a little bit awkward over here in this game. I think what could have been cool is to have some sort of a catch-up mechanism. Like, again, I'm going to give Voidfall as an example. The player with the least amount of victory points is going to choose where they would like to be on the turn track in the next round. So over here, I'm guessing that they could have made some sort of a catch-up mechanism. I know it might be maybe a little bit more difficult because it's difficult over here to count how many victory points each person has. But I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better. The next aspect that I would like to talk about, I'm not so sure if it's good or bad, or maybe I'm not even sure what it actually means to me, and that is the sort of exploration aspect that we have. So first of all, I'm happy to see that they're not declaring themselves as a 4X game, since first of all, the exploit aspect over here is, I'm not going to say extremely weak, but it's not so strong. because if I'm going to control a desert or a forest, for example, I'm not going to gain something each income phase. But on the other hand, if I'm going to control the center of the map, like this special tile or some hexagons on this tile, I am going to receive something. So it's like, okay, exploit aspect. And the other one is the exploration. So because they're not self-declaring themselves as an exploration kind of game, it's a 4X, sorry, I'm kind of okay with what we can see over here on the map. Let me show it to you again, because everything, all the tokens that you can see over here is basically something that you're going to combat, and then you're going to flip it and you're going to receive a reward. In this specific case, you're going to receive one of the artifacts that was kind of touched by a god and was spread across Venterra. It's kind of cool, to be honest with you. It's a cool aspect. If I'm like this whole setup reminds me a little bit a Clash of Cultures. So I think it could have been also another interesting element if different players maybe could have controlled a little bit like a barbarian faction. I don't know if it's a good term to use, but just to move the pieces a little bit and a little bit that take that element. It is cool, of course, to go over here and flip these tokens, but if it doesn't have like a real meaning, you know, because I can just go with a large enough army and then nothing really happens over here because of course I'm superior in this combat. So because you do want to push the players and rush a little bit into the exploration and spread, but of course it's going to come with a price. I just feel that this aspect maybe is a little bit flat and can be upgraded into something better. So just to summarize a little bit, you guys, I think that in Fate of Venterra there is a lot of potential. I have my eyes on this game. I cannot recommend for you if to back it or not. First of all, because the Kickstarter is not up yet. Second of all, I don't know what is the price. And third of all, I don't know if they are going to address some of the things that are bothering me over here, because they are entering a category that they're going to have a lot of competition from a lot of great games. So I'm not expecting here the next game buster, or I don't know, something that is going to blow me completely away, but I do see here a good potential to this game, and it did pique my interest. Having said that, I hope that they're going to address some of the things that are bothering me a little bit. I hope that visually the game is going to get better, and I'm kind of eager to see the different stretch goals or the different elements that are going to be in the actual game. And this is just something to pay attention to. So with Fate of Venterra, I'm actually going to have this new resolution for 2025, and that is to make more previews, more first impression videos, not only how to play and play through, because I would like to share with you also my opinion, and hopefully this is something that is going to attract you and come back to the channel. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you learned something new or saw something that you like, consider subscribing to the channel. It's absolutely free and it helps me a lot. Take care, and I'll see you next time.